what they have on them in order to get them to keep voting for these illegal authorities and to increase the budgets of these intelligence community domestic spies. But what startles me, or what upsets me the most, is that there is, as I said earlier, there is no outrage, Gerald. You and I are outraged. Bernie Sanders is outraged. Ron Wyden is outraged. Ron Paul is outraged. Thomas Massie is outraged. That's it.
That's it. Because you go on to say the federal government is rotten to the core. Today in America, we have no rights. You know, Judge, we have no rights, but you know what we're going to do? We're rotten to the core. We're going to bring rights to Ukraine. We're going to bring them freedom. This is the hypocrisy of what we're going to bring freedom and democracy there as we're losing ours.
Well, remember George W. Bush, we're going to bring freedom and democracy to Afghanistan and to Iraq, and we're going to borrow $3 trillion to do it. What a disaster.
You know, on this war front, by the way, you know, all the news, I want to tie this into something. All the news now is Roe versus Wade. And the politicians are coming out, many of them, you know, how terrible it is to have abortions and kill an unborn. But you know what? These are the same politicians that go over to Ukraine to send more lethal weapons to kill people.
Yes.
These are the same politicians that vote for every war that there's been going on since they've been alive and in office. So tell me what's going on here. It's can't kill an unborn, but we can kill anybody we want in any country. Where did you see Joe Biden yesterday? At Lockheed Martin.
Yes.
Could you imagine the president of the United States going to the number one defense contractor in the United States to ask for more lethal weapons of death and destruction? But, Roe versus Wade, now we got to get serious.
I have often thought that the Republicans who claim to be pro-life are just making that claim not because they give a damn about babies in the womb, not because they believe babies in the womb are persons, not because they believe the Constitution requires the states to protect life at all of its stages, but just to curry favor with certain Christian groups. And you've just demonstrated that. How can the same human being who's worried about babies in the womb being killed want to slaughter people in foreign countries just to force them to accept our version of a government? It just doesn't make sense. And even when Republicans controlled both houses of Congress and had a Republican in the White House, they could have stopped Roe versus Wade in its tracks with a single one-line piece of legislation. The fetus in the womb is, for all legal and constitutional purposes, a person. Such legislation was never even brought to the floor because Republican leadership wouldn't allow it to come to the floor. So these people are not serious pro-life people. They're duping the pro-life community. You can't be in favor of protecting the life of a baby in the womb when you're not in favor of protecting the life of a human being on the street in a foreign country.
You know, Judge, what being, you know, the authority that you are, the judicial authority, what makes you an accessory to a crime? So, for example, if I know that somebody's committing murder and robbing people, and I supply that person with money and weapons, am I an accessory to the crime?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. It's a very, very, very interesting moral question, which has begun to be debated in the legal academic community. Those very few of them who believe that we have no dog in the fight in Ukraine. Are we accessories? And this is the Colonel McGregor, Phil Giraldi, Scott Ritter, very, very rational, sound argument. Are we accessories to murder by aiding the Ukrainians? And if we didn't aid the Ukrainians, wouldn't this have been over a
Over a
month
long time.
ago?
Yep.
And maybe 500,000 lives ago.
So taking it one step further, more than just being an accessory to the crime, would accessory to the crime also be that we are in fact not fighting a proxy war against Russia, we are at war with Russia?
Yes, I think we are at war with Russia, and I think that pleases a lot of people in the Republican Party. You just mentioned the names of some of them. Lindsey Graham, to his credit, is open about this. I mean, his thinking is warped, but at least he's open about it. The others aren't even open about it. Chris Coons, senator from Delaware, Joe Biden's closest friend in the Senate, the one who occupies the seat that Biden himself had for 36 years, said it's time to consider troops on the ground. I'm happy that they are telling the truth, but it is dreadful if this conversation becomes commonplace.
Well,
Look,
again, it's
Ron
both.
Paul has released, you and I have talked about this, the tape of the CEO of Raytheon saying, the gear that the Ukrainian military is getting is stuff we've stockpiled in Europe and NATO has stockpiled. It's not our best stuff. And half of it gets destroyed by the Russians before it even gets into the hands of the Ukrainians, because the Russians are not stupid. They know where it is. Now I'm going to paraphrase the CEO. We're happy that this happens, because once the stockpiles go down, what are they going to do? They're going to come to us and pay us for more instruments of death.
Well, again, what you just said, get Raytheon being the number 2 defense contractor. Oh, and the guy that's playing now ahead of the Department of Defense, Lloyd Austin.
Yeah, where was he before he was the Secretary of Defense? What gig did he have?
On the board of directors of Raytheon.
Can't make this up.
No.
You can't.
And then to have the President of the United States go to the biggest defense contractor yesterday and say how proud he was to be there, to Lockheed Martin, and that we have to send more weapons to Ukraine, to me is demonic.
Well, the McGregor-Ritter-Giraldi argument is that we have extended the war.
Oh, we have.
If the Russians had just marched in, they would have just seized whatever land they wanted without all the bloodshed.
Yep.
We have caused the bloodshed. I don't know how this ends. I mean, Ritter and McGregor and Giraldi are telling me there's no way the Russians can lose.
I say the same.
And that the DOD has told that to Biden. So Biden, it's tough to figure out his brain, because I don't know if it's all there. But Biden must either think that a World War III would make him another FDR, or that extending this war somehow improves his approval rating amongst voters in America. Because extending the war is not helping the Ukrainians. It's helping the Russians to destroy Ukraine.
But again, it's bigger than Biden. I mean, we talked about this guy, Austin, that's playing defense. He's coming out and saying, quote, we're going to weaken Russia. We're going to weaken Russia. So, and again, it's not only the Republicans, look at the Democrats that all support this war.
Yes.
I mean, it's across the board. They're calling for the war even more than, as much as the Republicans are. Again,
because you turn on Fox or CNN or MSNBC and you see war, and you see all of it from the Ukraine side. So the media in cahoots with Raytheon and Lockheed and the federal government and the CIA. CIA feeds all kinds of information to the media. I know that to be so, having been a part of the media. They've persuaded the American public that Russia's wrong, that Ukraine is right, and that we must do everything possible to stop Putin. That's where we are now. And every week we talk about this, Gerald.
Yep.
It's worse. It's not better. It's worse.
They had an election, a primary election in Ohio. A guy that was running, he came from nowhere, this guy, J.D. Vance. He won the primary to run for Senate. He came out against the Ukraine war, the only one. And he got a load of media. They started hitting on him for it. Two issues that he won with, as I see it, and that I've been saying for a long time. He's against the government forcing you, to fight the COVID war, telling you have to do what they tell you to do with the vaccinations, etc. And number two, coming out against the Ukraine war, saying it's not our involvement in it. And they really went after him big time. That got him a lot of press because a lot of people are against this war. You said it, the CIA in cahoots with the prostitutes, the media whores that get paid to put out by their corporate pimps and their government whoremasters, telling the people about the COVID, how we have to fight the Ukraine war. But in the hearts of the people, they don't want it.
Right.
And this guy won. He was an odds-on loser. Oh, and they're saying because Trump supported it, had nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. He even came out against Trump in different times over the years.
Yeah, Gerald, I couldn't agree with you more. Maybe when people are open and honest, the voters will rise to the occasion. Maybe even somebody like Chuck Schumer could be taken on by someone who's against the war, against the vaccines, against the government telling us how to live and what to put on our faces.
And some man who is the judge of freedom, a man of peace, and really somebody that knows about justice and wants it to continue to be part of our lives should be the president of the United States. And that's what we really need is someone that is for we the people and not little sold out boys and girls that are bought out by the big corporations that morons and imbeciles call campaign contributions. They're bribes and payoffs. Now, we need a man like Judge Napolitano to be the president of the United States.
Don't say that too loud. You'll get me in trouble.
No, I won't. Thank you, Judge. See you next week.
All the best, Gerald.